What is the difference between donkeys and horses? Let's saddle up. Where do horses and donkeys really come from? Alright, animal lovers, here's a fun question for you. If a horse, a donkey, and a zebra walk into a barn, what do they all have in common? No, it's not the start of a dad joke. They're all part of the same big, hoof-stomping family, the Equidae, also known as the horse family. Now, you might be thinking, sure, horses and donkeys both have hooves and like to munch on hay, but are they really related? Oh yes, and their family reunions are wilder than you might expect. Let's break it down. The donkey, that sturdy, long-eared fellow often underestimated for his looks, is officially known as Equus osinus. Some scientists, though, argue he's not his own full species but a subspecies of the African wild ass, making his full name Equus africanus osinus. That's a mouthful. Either way, he's got ancient African roots and a work ethic that puts most of us to shame. On the other hoof, we've got the horse, our majestic companion of battlefields, farm fields, and Kentucky derbies. The domestic horse's scientific name is Equus ferus cabilis, and he descends from wild horses that once thundered across the ancient plains of Eurasia. That's right, before we ever thought of saddles or stirrups, wild horses were out there doing their thing, completely free, totally fierce. And just like your quirky cousins at Thanksgiving dinner, donkeys and horses are close, but not identical. They're part of the same family tree but branched off into different lifestyles a long time ago. Think of horses as the flashy athletes, the race car drivers of the animal kingdom, while donkeys are more like rugged off-roaders, slower, but nearly unstoppable when it comes to endurance. Here's a cool thought. Imagine your job is to cross the scorching Sahara with 100 pounds of supplies. Who do you pick, Speedy the racehorse or Dusty the desert donkey? Unless you're in a hurry to pass out from heat exhaustion, you're choosing Dusty. That's right, donkeys are built for survival in some of the harshest conditions on Earth. Talk about underrated superheroes. Now here's something to chew on. If horses and donkeys are so closely related, can they have babies? The answer is yes, but there's a twist. Stick around and I'll tell you exactly what happens when these two equine cousins get together. Who tamed who first? The ancient bond between humans, donkeys, and horses. Alright folks, let's go way back in time. I'm talking long before tractors, before cowboy boots, before the word pet even meant anything more than companion. Ask yourself this: when did humans first look at a wild animal and think, that thing could really help me haul my stuff? Believe it or not, one of our earliest partners in crime wasn't the horse, it was the humble, tough-as-nails donkey. That's right, donkeys were domesticated somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 years ago in North and East Africa. Picture the blazing sun, endless stretches of desert, and ancient people on the move. Who do they trust to carry their supplies across the brutal heat and arid terrain? Not cows, not camels. It was donkeys. These guys could go days without much water, needed little food, and didn't stop to chew cud like cattle. They were the SUVs of the ancient world, rugged, reliable, and fuel efficient. In fact, in places like ancient Egypt, donkeys weren't just beasts of burden. They were symbols of wealth and status. The more donkeys you owned, the richer and more powerful you were. Some pharaohs even had their donkeys buried with them so they'd have transportation into the afterlife. Imagine that eternal Uber, donkey edition. Now let's switch gears to their flashier cousin, the horse. These sleek, fast, high-spirited animals were domesticated around 6,000 years ago in the steppes of Central Asia. Think modern-day Kazakhstan and its windswept plains. What's fascinating is how quickly the horse revolution took off. Within a couple of thousand years, horses were everywhere from Eastern Europe to India. It was like the iPhone of the ancient world. Everyone wanted one, not just because they were fast, but because they changed everything. Warfare, trade, farming, even social hierarchy. If you had a horse, you had power. Just picture it. One day you're walking with your goods on your back. The next, you're gliding across the land on a powerful, hoofed engine. Game changer. Here's a personal thought. As someone who's spent time around both animals in the field, I've always been fascinated by the contrast. Donkeys may not win a sprint, but they'll keep going when the horse quits. Horses, on the other hand, are like performance sports cars, faster, flashier, but higher maintenance. In the wild, I've seen donkeys outlast scorching days without flinching, and horses bolt with incredible grace the moment danger hits. So let me ask you this: if you were an ancient trader crossing miles of rugged land, carrying gold, spices, or maybe just your family's food, who would you trust more, the flashy stallion or the humble donkey? And here's the kicker: these animals didn't just change our lives, we changed theirs. The human-animal partnership with donkeys and horses shaped civilizations, trade routes, empires, agriculture, even mythology. None of it would be the same without a bray or a neigh in the background. So next time you pass by a donkey or a horse, give them a nod of respect. These four-legged legends quite literally carried us into history. From fields to battlefields, how donkeys and horses shaped human history. Let me ask you something: if you were building an empire, crossing deserts, plowing a field, or maybe just trying to get your groceries home before sundown in ancient times, who would be your MVP? The quiet, steady worker or the flashy war horse ready to charge into battle? Let's talk about the donkey first. This animal might not make the cover of a fantasy novel or headline a Hollywood Western, but let me tell you, donkeys have done some serious heavy lifting in history. And I mean that literally. Donkeys were the backbone of agriculture and transportation for thousands of years. They hauled grain, pulled carts, carried firewood, and moved people across rough, unforgiving terrain. Imagine being a farmer in ancient Egypt, the sun blazing above, the Nile flooding behind you, and who's beside you every step of the way? A donkey, not complaining, not quitting, just getting it done. These animals were the original get-it-done crew, and get this. In ancient Egypt, donkeys weren't just work animals, they were also status symbols. The more donkeys you had, the wealthier and more powerful you appeared. It was like the original luxury car collection. Forget Ferraris. Pharaohs had donkeys. Some elite families even included donkeys in their tombs, so they wouldn't have to walk through the afterlife without a ride. On the other end of the arena, quite literally, we've got the horse. If donkeys were the unsung heroes of the farm, horses were the rock stars of the battlefield. When we talk about war, conquest, hunting, and sports, horses are front and center. Think about it. Could Napoleon Bonaparte have charged across Europe on a goat? Could Genghis Khan have built the largest land empire in history riding a camel? Of course not. They needed horses. Fast, powerful, fearless horses. In battle, horses gave warriors speed, height, and psychological advantage. Nothing says I'm here to conquer like thundering hooves and a cavalry charge. And it wasn't just war. Horses were crucial in hunting large game, in messenger services, and in transporting people and supplies across empires. And then there's sport. From chariot races in ancient Rome to modern-day horse racing in Kentucky, horses have always been the life of the party. If donkeys were your hard-working 9-to-5 friend, horses were the adrenaline junkies doing backflips at the rodeo. Now here's a personal story. I once watched a donkey patiently carry supplies up a narrow mountain trail for hours, while a well-trained Arabian horse was practically dancing in place nearby, full of energy and eager to run. It was like comparing a seasoned truck driver to a Formula One racer. Both amazing, just in totally different ways. So here's the big question. In the grand timeline of human history, who really made civilization move forward, the noble war horse or the humble donkey? Honestly, it's not a competition. It's a partnership. We didn't get here without both. Donkeys may not wear armor or star in epic battle scenes, but they've earned their place in history through pure perseverance. And horses, they carried kings, generals, explorers, and dreamers into new worlds. So next time you see a horse gallop or hear a donkey bray, remember this: they didn't just help us move. They helped us become. From desert warriors to racetrack rock stars, what can donkeys and horses actually do? Let me ask you something. If you had to cross a scorching desert with 100 pounds of supplies on your back and no water in sight, who would you trust more to get you through, a flashy stallion or a tough little donkey with an attitude? The answer might surprise you. Let's start with the donkey, because this animal doesn't get nearly the respect it deserves. Donkeys are the blue-collar superheroes of the animal world. They're not showy, they're not picky, and they don't need pampering. They just get the job done. These guys were built for endurance. Thanks to their African ancestry, donkeys can handle blistering heat and lack of water like champs. They can go farther, longer, and with less than many animals twice their size. That's not a myth. That's biology. Ever seen a donkey on a remote farm, climbing rocky hills, carrying wood, water, or even the occasional stubborn goat? I have. And while the horse might be off galloping in the field, the donkey is still hauling the day's work home. No complaints, no drama. But here's the twist. Donkeys can also be surprisingly fierce. Yes, they're calm and steady, but get this, they can be trained to be guard animals. You heard that right. Guard donkeys. Farmers in the Midwest and ranchers in Texas use them to protect livestock from predators like coyotes. I once visited a ranch in Colorado where the sheep huddled behind their donkey like it was a security guard at a nightclub. And when a coyote got too close, that donkey went full ninja ears up, hooves flying. Coyotes don't mess with donkeys twice. Now shift gears and picture this. The thunder of hooves, the crowd roaring, a sleek horse tearing down the racetrack like lightning on legs. That's the world of the horse, and it's just one small corner of what horses can do. Today, there are around 300 horse breeds, each one tailored like a fine suit for a specific purpose. It's kind of like picking a car. You want speed? Get yourself a thoroughbred. These are the Ferraris of the horse world, made for racing, light on their feet, and born to fly. Ever watch the Kentucky Derby? That's thoroughbred magic. Need brute strength instead? Say hello to draft horses like the Clydesdale. You know, the Budweiser mascots with the shaggy hooves and muscles like NFL linebackers. These horses can pull plows, wagons, even tree trunks. Then there's the jumpers, elegant, athletic, and absolutely fearless. Show jumping horses clear fences taller than a refrigerator, sometimes with a teenager on their back steering. It's like horse parkour. And don't even get me started on the pony breeds, which range from adorable fluff balls for kids to compact powerhouses used in therapy programs, horse shows, and parades. Some of them even have better hair than I do. What amazes me is how purpose-driven horses are. Breeders have spent centuries perfecting each breed for speed, strength, agility, temperament, and even looks. It's like nature and nurture got together and said, let's build a masterpiece. So let's rewind. Donkeys are built like tanks, calm as monks, and surprisingly good at self-defense. Horses are the athletes, the artists, the adventurers. One's the reliable pickup truck, the other's the turbocharged sports car. Which would you choose for your next journey? Or better yet, why choose at all? Horses versus donkeys. Who's taller, hairier, and built for the long haul? Now tell me this, if a donkey and a horse walked into a bar, who would draw more attention? The tall, flowing-maned heartthrob, or the short, scrappy underdog with the giant ears and a no-nonsense attitude? Let's talk about what you can see when you look at these two animals side by side. At first glance, they might seem like cousins at a family reunion. But once you pay attention, the differences start jumping out like popcorn. First up, size. Horses are the big guys on the block. Your average adult horse stands between 14 and 19 hands high. That's about 57 to 76 inches, or in regular person speak, they can be as tall as an NBA player. Some of the draft breeds can even tip the scales at over 2,000 pounds. That's like parking a Honda Civic in your barn. Donkeys, on the other hand, are more compact and practical. They stand anywhere from 35 to 59 inches tall at the withers and rarely weigh more than 500 pounds. That might not sound like much, but trust me, it's all lean muscle and grit. Donkeys are the bodybuilders of the equine world, small frame, big engine. Now, if you ever get the chance to run your hand down their back, you'll notice something else. Donkeys have straight, flat backs, which helps when you're balancing baskets or hauling gear. Horses, their backs have a graceful concave curve, perfect for riding and better shock absorption during gallops and jumps. It's the difference between a flatbed truck and a luxury SUV. And the tails. Oh, the tails. Donkeys sport a short, skinny tail that ends in a little tuft of hair, almost like a paintbrush dipped in brown. It gets the job done, no frills. Meanwhile, horses flaunt long, flowing tails that look like they've been to a hair salon. Ever seen a horse whip that majestic tail in slow motion? It's poetry. If donkeys are practical work boots, horses are red carpet stilettos. Ears are another giveaway. Donkeys have big, thick, expressive ears that can pick up sounds from far away. I once saw a donkey perk up from across a pasture just because someone opened a bag of carrots to fields over. Horses have shorter, sleeker ears, more like tuned radar dishes than satellite receivers. Both are alert, but donkeys, they look like they're ready to hear tomorrow's weather. Want to go deeper? Let's talk skeletons and science. Horses have 6 lumbar vertebrae, giving them a slightly longer and more flexible lower back. Donkeys have 5, which makes their backs a little stiffer but stronger for weight bearing. Think less yoga, more deadlift. Now here comes the kicker: chromosomes. Horses have 64, donkeys have 62. Not a huge difference, but just enough to make things interesting. When they breed, their hybrid babies mules and hinnies end up with 63 chromosomes. That's why mules can't reproduce. Nature gave them horsepower and brains but didn't hand them the keys to the gene pool. So next time you're out at a ranch, petting zoo, or even watching a Western movie, take a closer look. That shaggy-eared, steady-stepping donkey. He might be shorter, but he's built like a tank and smart as a whip. And that sleek, graceful horse galloping through the field. She's the Olympic athlete of the equine world. But now that you know all this, let me ask, if you had to ride one across a mountain trail, or escape an old-timey outlaw, which would you choose? Mules and hinnies. Nature's quirky mashups you didn't know you needed. Let me ask you this: what do you get when you cross a donkey with a horse? No, this isn't the start of a bad dad joke. It's actually one of the most fascinating hybrids in the animal kingdom. Meet the mule and the hinny, two of nature's most unexpected but wildly useful combos. Let's start with the mule, the superstar of the hybrid world. A mule is born when a male donkey, known as a jack, mates with a female horse or mare. This pairing gives us an animal that combines the strength and size of a horse with the grit and common sense of a donkey. If animals had resumes, mules would be applying for the job of super utility beast, and they'd probably get hired on the spot. I've worked around mules on trail teams, and let me tell you, they are tough as nails and sharp as a tack. They don't panic like horses might, and they're way more cautious about where they place their feet. Imagine hiking up a narrow mountain trail with cliffs on either side. A horse might get nervous and trip. A mule will stop, look at you like, "Are you sure you want to go this way?" and only move forward when it's safe. That's the kind of partner you want in tricky terrain. Now flip the parents. A hinny is born when a male horse or stallion mates with a female donkey or jenny. Hinnies are less common, and here's why. Female donkeys tend to be smaller and more cautious when it comes to carrying foals, especially larger ones sired by stallions. That makes the hinny a bit rarer, and usually smaller than its mule cousin. But here's where things get wild. Both hinnies and mules are sterile. That's right, they can't reproduce, and it all comes down to chromosomes. Horses have 64, donkeys have 62, so their hybrid offspring end up with 63. That's an odd number, literally, and it doesn't divide evenly when cells try to reproduce. No babies for them. So even though mules and hinnies are strong, smart, and incredibly useful, you can't breed more mules from mules. Every single one has to be created fresh, from scratch, every time. It's like nature's version of a limited edition collectible. You only get what's made by the original ingredients. Now here's a fun twist. George Washington, America's first president, was a huge mule fan. He even helped kickstart mule breeding in the United States by importing high-quality donkeys from Europe and breeding them with his best mares. Why? Because mules were perfect for farming in tough American terrain. Strong backs, low maintenance, and smart enough not to walk off a cliff. I mean, who wouldn't want that? So the next time you see a mule carrying packs through the Grand Canyon or calmly leading a group of tourists up a rocky slope, give it a little mental salute. It's not just a hybrid, it's a living example of how the different species can come together and create something amazing, even if it can't make babies of its own. But now here's a question. If you could engineer your own hybrid animal any two species, what would you mix? And more importantly, what would you name it? If you're loving this wild ride through the animal kingdom, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a moment of fun, facts, and furry surprises. Got a favorite horse, donkey, mule, or hinny? Or maybe you've met one in real life? Drop a comment below and tell us your story. I read every single one and I'd love to hear from you. And hey, If you could mix two animals to create your own hybrid, what would it be and why? Let's get creative down in the comments. Who knows, your idea might just make it into our next video. Smash that like button if you learned something new today, and I'll catch you in the next one.